All right, let's have a look at the Parramatta Eels for 2024.
Brad's been a great coach for this club. Performances to start the season, as well as a season that was below expectation in 2023, just meant that we felt that it was time for a change.
A ruck infringement here on Mitch Moses. He's looking for the penalty challenge.
Oh, no!
There goes Mitchy Moses.
Any chance Parramatta had has just been extinguished with their star halfback being sent to the Spitwater touchline, tough and ready for 10 in the bin, which will be the rest of the match with 3 minutes 56 remaining.
Charlie Staines is there.
Big play.
However, next play, you can't stop Regan Campbell-Gillard. The big front rower gets across and scores a try. That might be an exclamation point on his time at the Parramatta Eels.
Yeah, so that was, I think, Spoon Bowl, the way it finished for Parramatta, which was a thrilling victory for them, 60 points to 26 in a game that everyone cared about, which was extraordinary. But it meant that the Parramatta Eels finished 15th for the season, 7 wins and 17 losses. We had another coach sacking again after playing Melbourne, 48 points to 16. They lost in round 11. That was the last game in charge for Brad Arthur. What were your thoughts on Parramatta in 2024, Mick?
Yeah, as I alluded to before, I didn't have high hopes for Parramatta. I didn't have them in my top 8. I just didn't like the style of football that they were playing. I thought it was old and slow. The power game that they sort of built, that grand final run and the success they had a couple of years ago hadn't evolved. And that's why I had concern for Parramatta. They made the coaching change and it needed to happen, I think. I think it was the right call. I just think that Brad had probably milked everything that he could from the current players.
Did they leave it a time too late, which meant they missed out on Wayne Bennett? But would Wayne Bennett be more attracted to the South Sydney Rabbitohs or the Parramatta Eels?
South Sydney.
I agree.
I just think there's that attachment there. He's got unfinished business there, having gone so close, losing that grand final to Penrith a few years ago.
Well, I think we'd probably both agree on this, that the South Sydney in 2025 are closer to winning a premiership than Parramatta.
Yeah, and that's all Wayne's there to do. Wayne's there to win premierships now, right? So, I agree with that. Even if they did make a Hail Mary pitch for Wayne, he was advanced to join South Sydney, but they did give it a go. They sounded out Craig Bellamy. They did all this sort of stuff, right? But
and they landed on Jason Ryles. Thoughts?
Yeah. Well, when you go back a couple of years ago, there was a couple of coaches that were next in line, right? It was Craig Fitzgibbon.
Yes.
It was Cameron Ciraldo.
Yes.
It was Jason Ryles.
Yes.
Ryles has not waited longer, but because Craig Fitzgibbon had a very, very long apprenticeship, but he could have been the coach of the Dragons. Didn't think that was right for him at the last moment. Pulled back, right? He thinks Parramatta's the right job for him. It's good to see that now all those guys have got jobs, and now we can assess them. Craig Fitzgibbon's had a good run. Cameron Ciraldo was outstanding this year for the Bulldogs. Now it's Jason Ryles' turn, and by all reports and his long apprenticeship and all these sort of things, he's going to be. I think he's going to be a good coach, and I think the style of play that Parramatta, they're going to look so different. They're going to look so different. They're going to be fast, and you look at the players that they've signed. They've signed speed. Right? Yes,
I'm just thinking about this in the context of Clint Gutherson, who had so many positive things to add to Parramatta, and speed wasn't one of them. But every other attribute just about that you want in your player, now not necessarily your fullback, but want in your player was there. And the fact that they weren't able to sort something out, and it might work out at the St George Illawarra Dragons, but I think that was a bit of a concern for me.
It was hard. It was hard with Gutherson, right? Because the way that Jason Ryles wants to play, he can't play fullback for him.
Okay? And I didn't think he was going to be a fullback. Yeah. He might be a 5'8". He could be a hooker.
Well, that was the plan.
Yeah,
that was the plan. And whether Clint was putting his hand up to do that, the other issue is the fact that he had 12 months left on his contract, right?
Yeah.
Parramatta weren't in a position to re-sign Clint Gutherson now.
Yep.
Because I don't know how he's going to go with that new role.
Which is justified by the club.
Correct. And regardless of how he goes, he's not going to earn the $800,000 that he's earning at the Dragons for the next 3 years.
Exactly.
So
probably a no-brainer for Clint.
And it was a no-brainer for Clint because he's got $800 guaranteed for the next 3 years at the Dragons, or an unknown at Parramatta where you're not sure you're going to play, and his value is not going to be at 800 at Parramatta, not even close to 800 at Parramatta. So Parramatta couldn't disrespect him and giving him an offer that was going to be well below what he could have earned playing fullback. So I think that was a win-win for both parties.
So we're looking in 2024 with a view to 2025. Mitch Moses, 8 games. As I said, 3 of 5. There is going to be enormous pressure on Mitch Moses and Dylan Brown to a lesser degree to lead this side, and in particular off the field.
Yeah.
as much as on the field. We know he's an on-field leader, Mitch Moses. Now it's got to come with the off-field leader. So he didn't play many games. Hopgood, a crucial part of their team, only 12 games. Even Barlow only played the 16. And to a lesser degree, Simonson, who I think is a good player, 10 games. And Micah Seaver, who's now moved on in 12 games. But beyond that, there was the power game that characterised Parramatta. And it just felt like, I thought Regan Campbell-Gillard was okay. I thought Junior Barlow was
well below
expectations.
Well below, yeah.
And then beyond that, as you say, the lack of speed, the lack of threat in attack.
And that's always been the way Brad's coach. That's the way they've played, right? But they'll play able to roll forward off the back of Junior and Reg and some of these bigger guys in the middle of the field. Ryan Madison was good a couple of years ago. Sean Lane hasn't reached. Sean Lane was on the verge of playing for Australia a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Right.
Ryan Madison's numbers are extraordinary when he's on the field.
When he's on the field and trains and all this sort of stuff, right?
Yep.
So they still have Joe Offo-Ngawe in that forward pack. So there's players there. There are players there. I think we're just going to see a totally revamped style of play from the Eels.
They won 2 of their first 3. They lose 17-16 to the Tigers in round 4, and then they go on a run of 13 losses and 2 wins in that middle of the season. And a lot of that they're playing without Moses.
Yeah. And Mitch, we know, back to your point earlier around the halves and these guys leading Mitch is in the peak of his career, right? He will be the captain, or he should be the captain of Parramatta. And I think he's now, he will get to a point next year where he's in top 5 players in the game. The question marks I have over Dylan Brown, because I don't think 4 or 5 years ago he was on the trajectory to be one of the premier halves in the game. I don't think he's tracked as well as he was when he came onto the scene.
I think there's still a big difference between his best and his worst game. Like, I think there's a level of consistency that he needs to get to. And I'll throw this back to you. Do you think a different coach with Jason Ryles will improve that? Could improve that?
I think a different style as well. Because we know how much of a running threat. Both those players are running threats.
Yes.
Right? And I think with the way they're going to play, I think it's going to suit those guys perfectly. They're going to build the game around the halves. Because they'll play on either side of the field. They're going to be fast. They're going to try and play. We talk about Junior. The reason Junior wasn't moved on and Reg is the fact that Junior can ball play, and I think that's going to suit the distribution that Ryles is going to want to play with the side.
Do we know what the Jason Ryles style is?
Yeah, it's going to be they're going to move the football. I think we're going to look at if I look at the way teams have played in.
So give me a current example. Manly. Okay.
That's in my head is how they're going to play.
Right.
With speed. You look at the players that they've brought in. The Josh Hader-Carr signing is all about speed.
Yes.
Iongi at fullback is about speed. It's completely different to what we've seen from Parramatta. It is a total revamp from what we've seen about. Whether they're as loose, I guess, as Manly play, I'm not sure. Because Manly can get a little bit loose, right? I think...
Very much so.
And Jason Ryles is a defence-orientated coach. So I don't think he's going to want to lose that element of his game. But with the footy, I think they're going to be a bit more free-spirited than what we've seen at Parramatta over the last couple of years.
If you wanted to characterise, and the other thing for Parramatta, they don't have Tom Trebojevic at fullback.
No.
That's which lends itself to that.
And Saab, and they got genuine speedsters. Right?
All of that. Here's the other thing: if Isaiah Iongi is 5 or 6 games in, and it's not quite, do you then go righto, Zach Lomax? Well, do you want to have a go at fullback?
No.
In the preseason, are you getting reps?
Yes.
In Zach Lomax at fullback?
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
I would think so.
Because he's probably your number 2 in that back line.
Yep.
But for mine, Zach's got to play on the wing. Has to play on the wing.
Fully fit. Like, if they're all fit,
he has to play on the wing.
Then play on the wing. But he's not playing on the wing. You know that. He said it 4,000 times. I think he said in an interview, I've said it 4,000 times. Yeah. I'm not playing. I'm playing in the centres.
I'm not as convinced.
So I don't mind if it's playing in the centres as a winger. You know what I mean? Like doing all the things that, like if you get out of Zach Lomax, I want you to do the first carry back. I want you to get back as centre and do the first carry back, and I want you to chase every kick. I'm happy with the compromise.
But his kick returns were outstanding. His bomb diffusion was outstanding. Why are you losing that?
You're only losing bomb diffusion because
let him wear number 3 or 4 and then play him on the wing if that's what's going to make him happy.
But that's what I mean. He's wearing 3 or 4, but playing as fullback is tackled. First hit up back is your centre, Zach Lomax. And when there's a kick put through by Mitch Moses, who's got a towering bomb,
he's standing on the wing.
he's just run to when you watch him
just
when he's on the wing, even for New South Wales and Australia, he gets to the centre of the field to chase kicks.
Yeah.
So centre would make it easier.
It just sounds silly that he was the game's best winger last season.
I know.
Just play on the wing.
Okay.
But
play. You can play wearing number 3 or 4, but play like a winger.
Yeah.
That's
Isn't that silly?
pretty similar. But what do you say? Recruit the best players and keep them happy. That's how you win. Grade?
E.
No, I'm going F.
I
had greater expectations for Parramatta than you did.
But that's the only thing. I didn't have him in my 8. If I had him in my 8, then I can understand giving him an F. But, South Sydney was an F. I can't put him on par with South because I didn't have the same level of expectation that I had on South Sydney heading into this season.
No, certainly. But I still had Parramatta being far more competitive than they were. They finished 15th. Boys, watch out for Riley Smith as a hooker. Here's the thing moving forward. Question mark around the fullback?
Yep.
Question mark around hooker?
They're very confident on the fullback. They are very confident.
Are they?
Iongi, because he's a guy that's come from the Penrith system and he's played 50 reserve grade games.
I was going to say he's played a lot of
50 reserve grade
football.
games. What 21, 22-year-old these days has played 50 reserve grade games at the team that's won 4 comps?
Yeah.
Right? So in terms of groundwork, this is old school. This is
I was going
to
say, this is back in the day when, someone would be playing for Australia and New South Wales and the understudy would just stay in. The hooker at Manly, Max Krilich was the Australian hooker, and Ray Brown would play reserve grade but would make kangaroo tours.
Yeah. So it's, the most recent example was probably Harry Grant under Cam Smith a little bit in terms of, he was ready to play first grade, eventually went to the Tigers for that one season. But, in terms of being a bit patient and being an understudy, he only 50 reserve grade games. You don't see that anymore.
No.
You don't see that from kids. You don't see that at all from players because usually they get itchy feet and want to move earlier.
Yep.
So they're very confident. Hooker is a concern. But apparently Jason Ryles has been impressed by Brendan Hands.
Yeah, well, Brendan Hands was the one I had noted. But here, Riley Smith, stolen from the Panthers. He's 22. He's ready to go. Fittest in the club. He was the best Eels player in Jersey Flegg last year. Think about how Harry Grant plays. So 502. Riley Smith, I think he was a young cricketer as well, wasn't he? Played underage cricket for New South Wales. So there you go. Give us your thoughts on the Parramatta Eels. 0457 736 736. I said F, you said E. You give us your grading of Parramatta. Let's get ourselves to a break. You're listening to the Boys of Summer, all thanks to Bryden's Lawyers.